So now that we discussed the seller agent, what it is that they need to cover with their seller, we have the buyer agent.
Correct.
What is the most important thing that they need to discuss with their buyer from the get-go?
From the get-go is discussing the buyer-broker agreement that is now going to be mandatory across the U.S.
It has to be signed.
It has to be signed in order for me to open up that door.
Okay.
So it's now going to create a level playing field. It's going to make sure that myself as a broker is going to get paid for all the work that I'm about to do, because we don't get paid until we get to the closing table. Mm-hmm. So with a buyer-broker agreement, we are now going to ensure that if we can get the buyer to the closing table, or get the buyer under contract, we're going to be paid for our services. So gone are the days of working 40 hours a week and then you go and buy from your sister. Mm-hmm. But when a buyer is talking, when a buyer broker is talking to the buyer that they're going to start this relationship with, it's super important to let them know the expectations that they now have. That first articulate your value to the buyer and make sure that you can explain to them all of the things that they are about to do, all the things that you're about to do for them in order to get them the house of their dreams or the investment of their dreams and get them to that closing table. Mm-hmm. But we're also going to have to talk about how we're going to be compensated. I work for a certain amount of money on a transaction. It's based on my years of experience. It's based on all the extra things that I'm going to do to make sure that that buyer finds the right property for them and their families, or the right investment, or whatever the case may be. We need to talk about how I'm going to get paid. So with this new normal, it's not going to be that every property that's on the MLS is going to have an offer of compensation for me. So I am going to have a talk with my buyer and say, if the seller is not offering anything, this is the amount of money that I'm willing to work for. I'm going to articulate my value to that buyer. And when that buyer agrees that, yes, I am worth the amount of money that I'm telling them that I'm worth, we're going to sign that buyer representation agreement. Mm-hmm. And every time that we go out and look at a property, they know that I'm going to do my best in order to get them to the closing table. And I know that they're going to have some sense of loyalty to me as their broker. They've now hired me to be their broker. And I remember when I bought my first home, it was in Toronto, Canada. Buyer-broker agreements were absolutely the norm. So when I signed my buyer-broker agreement and I hired my realtor, that was the coolest experience for me as a first-time home buyer to say, like, I've got this realtor that is now out there running around town trying to find the best property for me. They're talking to their friends, finding who's got what for sale. Yeah. And it was a really amazing experience. I knew that I can call them whenever I needed them. I knew that they had my back. I knew that they were sending me properties that were exactly what I was looking for. And I had my pick of the litter of all these beautiful properties that I was able to go and see. And I had a working relationship with them, that I knew that I had somebody that was by my side and somebody that really had my back. It was a fantastic experience. And I think that people need to get excited again about hiring that one person, as opposed to the culture that we're in now. A lot of people are doing all the research online. So it's, I'll go see this one with this person, this one with that person. They never have a real relationship.
No loyalty.
There's no loyalty. But they may not be getting the best representation.
Correct.
Just because they went and got an online lead and somebody calls and says, hey, I'm buying some leads from this company, and now I'm going to be the one that shows up at the door and shows you the home. How do you know that that person actually has your best interests at heart, or that person's going to be a good fit for you, or that person is has the right personality traits so that you can have meaningful conversations with them so that they really understand what it is that you're looking for, or what sort of terms that you need in order to really make that a great buying experience for you. When you have a realtor that's investing all of their time and knowing exactly what it is that you need or what type of investment that you're looking for, you're going to have a far better experience. So I think that the new norm is actually going to be a shift in the right direction for people. Being able to hire a realtor and know that you've got somebody that's working for your interests.
Yeah. So could a buyer have that agreement signed, but then with a promise that their agent will try to get as much as those commissions paid by a seller?
Absolutely.
So it could be changed once the contract is signed.
Absolutely. So when you sign your buyer representation agreement, buyer brokerage agreement, when you find that a seller is offering compensation for that property, it specifically states in the buyer broker agreement that I am willing to pay you X amount of dollars for your brokerage services. However, that amount is going to be offset by whatever it is that the seller may be offering as compensation.
Right.
So if the seller does have an offer of compensation out there that is at or above whatever we agreed to, you will end up getting all of my professional services, and it's not going to cost you anything.
So it seems that out of this whole rigmarole and all this bitterness that people are spewing out there, there's really going to be some sweet things happening.
Yeah. I mean, listen, nobody works for free. So now everything is just going to be put on paper on exactly how I'm getting paid, how the listing agent's getting paid. You know, when you sign your listing agreement and you're putting your home up for sale, you know exactly how much you're paying to your selling agent or your listing agent. On the flip side, in Florida, for example, we haven't been accustomed to using buyer brokerage agreements. It's not something that traditionally or historically has been used far and wide. People do use them. I always encourage people to use them. We do find that it's very seldomly used. But now we know exactly, as a consumer, what we are paying for our brokerage services on the listing side and on the buying side. Mm-hmm. So it's greater transparency. I know a lot of people, especially realtors, are really spooked about what the changes are happening right now. I don't think that this is a time to be spooked. I think this is a time to get excited. I think this is a time to prep yourself to truly articulate the value that you're bringing to the table and go out there and earn your paycheck.
Absolutely. I think that it's just because of the ill information, the bad information that's out there.
Absolutely.
If you listen to the experts, you listen to the people that actually went through this settlement, you might find it a little bit different, and tune into some training that the board will have.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's always going to be training. There's already training out there that's been going on for a long time now on how to, if buyer brokerage is part of your business as a realtor, there already is training at the association on how to execute a buyer brokerage agreement, how to articulate your value, exactly what it is that you should be doing in order to have those discussions openly with the consumer.
Yeah. So check the schedule, and I'm sure there will be more coming up.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much, Chris.
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you very much for tuning in.